Ladies and gentlemen of the Action Army, what is going on? And welcome to another video. In today's video, I'm going to be reviewing a video from Just Jumari, who is a 20-year-old coach. What can a 20-year-old teach us about athleticism? Actually, a lot. Just Jumari, he's actually doing it right. The title of this video is, "This is why you are not getting more explosive." And the thumbnail is Usain Bolt in an ice bath, and it says, "Stop doing this." So let's dive in. I've never seen this video before, but I'm going to give you my first thoughts and reactions to what Just Jumari is saying. Here we go.
Pro athletes work out less than you, and I'm going to explain in this video why. The first reason why pro athletes work out less than you is that they prioritize quality over quantity. In today's society, we're always told that quantity is what matters in everything you do, whether it's social media, school, just working hard is all you're supposed to do. You just have to grind all day, kind of like that Gary V, Kobe Bryant mentality.
Imagine you wake up at 3, you train at 4, 4 to 6, come home, breakfast, relax. Now you're back at it again, 9 to 11, relax, and now all of a sudden you're back at it again, 2 to 4, now you're back at it again, 7 to 9. Look how much more training I have done by simply starting at 4.
And there is a lot of good things and truth in that mentality, and there's a lot of good gems you can take out of it, but this sets up athletes for failure when it comes to athleticism, because when you do more, all you get is negative feedback 90% of the time. That's why a lot of people kind of blame their genetics because they work so hard, and I'm always training, I just can't get better, so it must be my genetics. Is like, no, you train too much. You're not getting the quality work in. You're just getting quantity and negative. You're just getting 70% of it.
Here's what I will say, just very quickly, and I promise I'm not going to interrupt too much. However, this is a reaction. A lot of people they love to talk about overtraining, and I'm not saying Just Jumari is wrong, because he's right. But a lot of people talk about overtraining, and I love what David Goggins says about this. He says, you got to train first to overtrain. So I promise there are a lot of athletes out there who are doing this. I even get a lot of Instagram messages. They're saying, hey, my vert won't go up. And I'll say, what are you doing? They'll say, I'm doing vert shock, and I'm doing vert code, and I'm doing your beyond the rim body weight, and then I do these extra plyos, and then I have practice 5 to 6 days a week. And I say, well, no shit, you're doing too much. So I understand where he is coming from. However, you need to understand who you are, you watching this video, and don't bullshit yourself, because some people love to make excuses. I just made a story post on my Instagram the other day about this. You always have to find a path to yes. And we all know the people who always find a path to no. I have kids on my team like this. I know adults like this. They always find a path to no. There's always a reason as to why they can't do something. There's always a reason as to why something isn't done yet or something didn't get done. And I hate those motherfuckers because they don't get shit done. So get out of my way and let me achieve my goals. You have to know who you are. If you're a bullshitter and you don't train hard enough, you can't be like, well, Just Jumari said that most athletes do too much, so I need to dial it back a little bit. If you already don't do enough, you still ain't going to get gains. But if you are one of those people who can't stay out of the gym and they can't stop working out and they love it and they really just are dedicated to results, you might need to back off a little bit, because your body has a certain capacity. Every tissue in your body, your muscles, your tendons, your ligaments, your connective tissue, there's a capacity. And once you go past that capacity, you either turns into injury, or it turns into overtraining, which eventually turns into injury, but you won't see results either way. And I always say there's only 2 main reasons as to why your vertical jump or your athleticism is not increasing. Reason number 1 is because you are not forcing adaptation, right? If you don't force adaptation, if you're not doing progressive overload, if you're not trying to jump higher and run faster and put more weight on the bar, if you're not trying to progressive overload in some form, then your body has no reason to change. So number 1, you're not forcing adaptation. The second reason why your athleticism or your vertical jump isn't increasing, the only 2 reasons, number 1, you're not forcing adaptation. Number 2 is because you're not allowing for enough recovery to see the results from that adaptation, right? So number 1, you're not doing the right shit. Number 2, you're not allowing for enough recovery from you doing the right shit. That's the only 2. Anyways, Wow, I'm yapping a lot today. Sorry.
So when my goal was to run 10.5 in the 100 meter and dunk at 5'7", I used to actually do 2 workouts a day. This is what a lot of people kind of build themselves up to, because that's what I heard from Kobe. You just got to work out once in the morning, then 6 hours later, work out another time at night. And I actually ended up tearing my hamstring. I got to the point where I was running a 4.53 40-yard FAT in August, and the goal was to get down to that 4.3 in December. And then I was like, okay, I'm in a great spot. Let me just get 2 workouts in a day. And then all of a sudden, 2 weeks later of doing 2 workouts a day, I tore my hamstring, completely tore. Could not walk for weeks because I was like, let me do more work. Let me also squat. Let me also add in the extra deadlifts and the extra squats on top of that. On top of that, before I even went backwards, I actually got slower. I went from a 4.5 all the way to a 4.6, and next week a 4.7, and all of a sudden I was just useless. I was just flat out slow. I wasn't fast at all. And this happens to literally everyone. I'm not the only person. Out of the hundreds of athletes I've trained, any athlete who started to do 1 to 2 extra workouts outside of my training I prescribed for them always ended up getting injured.
So I talked about tissue and muscles and tendons, but the central nervous system, so what he said is he had a 4.5 and then he was training 2 a days and he got a 4.6, then he was up to a 4.7, so he's getting slower and slower. And for you, maybe vertical jump is your thing and you're training hard and your vertical jump is decreasing. The central nervous system is the other piece to the puzzle. Yes, maybe the muscles and the tendons and the tissues, you can increase capacity to the point where you get injured, which is what happens if you get injured, is you overload the capacity of that tissue. The other piece to the puzzle is, if you're not seeing gains, is your central nervous system isn't recovering well enough, right? When you do a workout, especially 2 workouts a day, you're beating down all of your tissue and your central nervous system. And these two are not separate. They work together every single time you do a workout. And if you're just breaking down your body over and over and over and over and over without allowing enough recovery, you are going to see no gains.
The second reason why pro athletes work out less than you is because they focus on speed and power development. Now, when you notice that you're actually only focusing on speed, your speed doesn't stay for long. If you only think about speed, let's say you're only sprinting and your whole goal is I want to run as fast as possible, and the second I stop running fast, I'm done, you start to realize, oh, shoot, like I got like 3 to 4 reps in and then I'm just done. That's recruiting max motor units, max muscle fibers. You're getting everything you need out of that workout. But then what most people do is they start overtraining. So they do an extra 6 reps, extra 6 40-yard dashes, 10-yard dashes, 20-yard dashes, when they were already peaked out at number 4 and they could have stopped right there.
This is a very important point that he just made. I 100% agree with this. And when people do my online coaching or they get my vertical jump programs, I tell them all the time, because people ask the question, hey, when I see my jumps going down in a jump session, should I keep jumping? Should I do fatigued jumping? And I always say, no, you shouldn't. And that's the note that I make in my programs is as soon as you see a drop off in performance, then you need to stop that vertical jump session, stop that dunk session, stop that sprint session, stop that squat session, whatever you are doing. As soon as you warm up and then you see your peak jumps or your peak lifts or your peak sprints, and then you see a drop off in percentage, then you need to stop. Because now we are no longer getting max intent. And maybe you are doing max intent, but you are no longer training in a way that is going to force adaptation. All that it is going to do is beat down your central nervous system and cause more fatigue.
Or let's say you're doing squats, right? And people are focusing on speed. Eventually the bar speed slows down probably on the 3rd or 4th set. But then people are like, oh, let me just do extra reps. Let me just do 6 to 8 more reps. When you could have probably stopped at 4 and got the speed down and just call it a day. So most people aren't going to get the most optimal sets and reps like you would from my programs or how I go about my velocity-based training. But you still should always focus on the second I slow down, you know what, we're done for today. Or the set is done when I slow down. So we'll do 135 or 225 on a squat. Let's say we're doing quarter squats and we're going as fast as possible, bouncing out the bottom. Okay, around 6 or 7, I know I'm going to slow down, so we're going to cut it there. Second I feel like I'm kind of muscling it through, we're done. Because you're not utilizing elastic energy anymore and you're not actually recruiting fast twitch fibers. You're still developing fast twitch fibers, but at a slow velocity. So a very simple way to understand this is if you're doing squats, instead of doing 2 times 10, do 10 times 2. So you're still getting the same amount of volume in, but you're prioritizing speed or strength or power development, which is short reps fast velocity.
This is huge, and a lot of you already know this, so I may be beating a dead horse, but I'm going to beat it further, and I'm going to say it anyways. 10 sets of 3 reps of squats, moving the bar at maximum velocity, is much different than 3 sets of 10 reps of squats. And most of you know this. However, a lot of my new athletes that I train, I'm a basketball coach. I train the athletes on my team. I train a lot of, pro guys and college guys. Sometimes they'll say, hey, I see that you have 8 sets of 3. Did you mean 3 sets of 8? And I say no. And the reason is because if you do 8 sets of 3 and the focus is max intent, maximum velocity, you do your first rep, it's as fast as possible. You do your second rep, it's still really fast. You do your third rep, it's still really fast. But on the other hand, if we flip that and we're going to 8 reps and the bar is somewhat heavy, on your 4th rep, yeah, it's fast, but now you're getting a little fatigued. On your 5th rep, that bar speed is a lot slower. On your 6th rep and your 7th rep, by the time you get to your 8th rep, that bar speed is not fast at all. So the maximum intent of your 8th rep is a lot slower than the max intent of your first rep. So this is why 8 or 10 sets of 3 is much different and much better for athleticism than 3 sets of 8 or 10.
The next reason on why pro athletes work out less than you is focus on high reward exercises that might have a high risk to them as well, but the high risk lowers a lot when you build up to them correctly. These type of exercises are stuff like depth jumps, bounding, max velocity flying 10 sprints, max pogos, and velocity-based deadlifts and squats. These type of exercises have the highest risk in the world. These are the stuff that actually develops your explosiveness, not the stuff you see in TikTok, the tib raises and the low-level plyometrics. These are level 4 high reward plyometrics. But if you just watch this video and just go do all 5 exercises and do like 1,000 sets of them, you're going to tear something, all right? You're going to get injured. You have to build your body up to handle this stuff, that we can actually accumulate the workload, really see the benefits from these exercises. So you start to notice that there's only 4 to 5 exercises that you really need. And you can also add in just like max effort sprints, max effort jumps, like actually doing the dunks, actually doing the high effort stuff, practicing the skill. But other than that, you just kind of can do 4 to 5 things and just leave. You can do this workout 1 to 2 days a week, or not this workout, but just these type of exercises, the high reward exercises. And if you're not really feeling it that day, you can call it a day and you can still get the really high benefits from these type of exercises. But most people just always do the low level exercises and then they just do it all week long. All right, that's like the easiest way to explain it. They just keep doing it and you don't go anywhere in the first place. And then you just keep adding on volume and then you just get hurt.
This is a great point that he just made. And if any of you out there are familiar with the Pareto principle, the Pareto principle states that 80% of your results come from normally 20% of what you are doing. And this actually goes back, I think this dude named, I can't remember his first name, but his last name I believe was Pareto, obviously. And he was planting peas like the vegetable. And he noticed that 80% of his peas were coming from 20% of the pea plants. And he said that this actually applies to everything. This applies to business. For example, my online training clients, 80% of my money comes from 20% of my clients. They're the higher paying clients. 80% of my headaches come from 20% of the clients. Some clients, they ask a whole bunch of questions. They're always trying to add and take away exercises. I'm like, bro, just do the program. 80% of your results from training come from really the core 20% of what you are doing. It's called the Pareto principle. So if just doing a bunch of extra bullshit is just going to break down your tendons, your muscles, your central nervous system anymore, why not just do a great warm-up, get yourself ready, and then focus on those 20%, the smaller handful of exercises that are going to bring you the most results. And then get in, hit it really hard, and get out. And don't do all of the extra bullshit that's just going to accumulate and add up into more fatigue onto your body.
Next reason why pro athletes work out less than you is that they simply are just healthier than you. Most people just have flat out too much body fat. I've had people come to me and they're like, hey, I want to dunk, like I just want to be explosive like you are. Then they're like, I've tried everything, I've done everything you do, but I'm not seeing any results. And I look at them and I test their body fat and they're 18, 20, 30% as a male. And I'm like, dude, you're not going to go nowhere like that. You simply cannot fly with fat on your body.
All right, so here's what I want to say about that. Relative strength is very real, right? Think about, this is the analogy that I like to make. Think about putting on a 20 or a 30-pound weight vest and then trying to jump up and dunk. It's going to be way harder than if you took that 20 to 30-pound weight vest off. The same thing goes for body fat. If you have excess body fat, it's harder to jump. That's just, that is what it is. I also want to tell you a very, very quick story because I've said this before. The highest jumper that I have ever seen in person was a guy that played on a local pro, in a local pro league here in Pittsburgh, and he was on my team in a men's league, and he could jump up and damn near touch the top of the backboard, and he was the same height as me, 6'1", light-skinned dude, very skinny. And they said, look out, dude, this man has bounce. And I'm like, bro, I got bounce too. Everybody says that everybody got bounce. I'm telling you, first play of the game, this dude did a stand. I was standing right next to him. I jumped for the same rebound. I did not touch the ball whatsoever. We both jumped for the same rebound. I was on his team. He dunked on me, and I was on his team. We both jumped for the ball. He does a standing vertical jump, grabs the ball, and does a putback dunk from a standstill, and he's 6'1". He would snatch block people all the time, and I asked him, I said, bro, do you train for your vertical jump? And he said, nah, bro, I just hoop. And my soul broke right there. Anyways, relative strength really matters. He was really skinny. He was 6'1", probably about 165 pounds, maybe. But yeah, relative strength matters. Genetics matter a lot. But let's keep going.
There's also studies that show every 1% of body fat taken off your body is actually 0.1 added to your time. So let's say you run 10.9 in the 100 meter. Now, if you lost 1% of body fat, like real 1% of body fat, not just random weight, you're actually going to run 10.8 if you keep your lean body mass and your actual relative strength up. And the same thing goes for the vertical jump. You lose 1%, you probably go from a 30-inch to probably a 31 to 32 inches if you kept your relative strength and your lean body mass.
That is a very important point. And I don't know that those numbers are 100% accurate, but I guarantee Just Jumari is pretty close. Every 1% might be 2 inches. That sounds like a lot, bro. That sounds like a lot. However, he may be pretty close. But one thing that he said is if you decrease your body fat percentage and your relative strength stays the same or increases, you can't just crash diet and say, I'm going to cut out all carbs and I'm just going to lose a bunch of weight so that I can jump high and fly. If you don't give your body the adequate nutrition and carbohydrates that it needs for fuel and protein that it needs for recovery, and you just cut calories and you're in, 1,000 to 1,500 calorie deficit, you ain't going nowhere. I'll tell you that. You have to do it smart. You have to decrease body fat and try to improve strength and power in a slight calorie deficit, like 500 calories deficit, down from your maintenance. But let's keep going. We're almost done.
The next reason is probably the most important is that pro athletes just flat out have more confidence in their program and in themselves. The real reason why people overtrain is, it could be a love for the game, but most of the time is that they're insecure about their ability. So they feel like they're not doing enough. They never feel like they are enough. They feel like what they're doing isn't going to get them to their goals. So they have to do more to compensate for the lack of talent, their lack of feeling self-worthy of being a great athlete. So they start doing extra workouts, extra things, trying to do everything they possibly can to reach their goal, when really you need to trust your program, trust the coach, trust my Just Jump program, my Just Sprint program, trust what I have to give to you or what other top level coaches have to give to you, and don't add anything else on top of it, and trust the process.
I agree. Some people don't have the confidence in their program. And going along with this, some people are trying to sprint. And I'm not saying Just Jumari's sprint program, just sprint. I'm talking about some people are trying to sprint when this shit is a marathon. Oh, it's been a week and I didn't see results yet. Let me do more. It's been 2 weeks. Guys, you have to stay consistent for weeks, months, years, decades. Think about all the GOATs, all the greatest of all time athletes, or in any field, singers, musicians, rappers, business people. The greatest people of all time can do it for weeks, months, years, decades. They got decades of this shit. If you can't stay consistent for that long, then you ain't shit.
If you believe in yourself and understand, hey, I might not see results in 1 month, but I will see it in 3 to 6 months, and you let the process go through, you don't just add in extra stuff and get injured, then you will see the results 3 to 6 months down the line or a year down the line, instead of adding in as much as possible in 1 to 2 months. You just get injured and you come back and you get injured again, or you just don't see results. You just go backwards because you are overtraining. Pro athletes do not care. They're pro, they want to be great, but they do not care. They stick to one plan and they do not do anything else. They sign a contract with that plan.
Adaptation takes time. This is the last time I'm going to interrupt until the end of the video. Adaptations in your body take time. Your body doesn't, you don't just do 2 workouts or work out for 3 weeks and see adaptations like that. That's why all these programs, people get mad because I was bashing the program Vert Shock. As soon as you open up the program Vert Shock, it says, we guarantee 9 to 15 inches on your vertical jump in 8 weeks. Motherfuckers, listen to me. You cannot make 15 inches of adaptations in 8 weeks. You can't do that unless you're a baby gazelle. You can't do that. The body takes time. Adaptation of the tissue and central nervous system takes time. That's the last time I'm going to interrupt.
I'm not negotiating this up. The deal was already made. And I set out at the beginning of the summer and said, this is the training plan I'm doing. I signed that contract with myself. I'm doing it.
At this point in the video, you're probably wondering, how do I put my workouts together? How do I train the right way to become an explosive athlete? You can either check out my Just Jump program, my Just Sprint program, or you can watch this video right here to learn how to train like an explosive athlete.
All right, guys. So that is it for this video. That is my reaction. Just Jumari is one of the few athletes online that I really trust. You know, there's a handful of athletes that I trust online. There's a handful of athletes that if I wasn't a coach and a trainer myself and I didn't know what the fuck I was doing, he's one of the athletes that I would actually do his program, right? There's a handful of those athletes. And there's a handful of these coaches in general. If you want to take your vertical jump, or if you want to sprint faster, if you want to take your athleticism to the next level, Just Jump or Just Sprint would 100% be a good option for you. And I have not looked at either one of these programs. I just know the character of Just Jumari. So like I said, there's a couple coaches that I would bet my life on it, that they have a good program that is going to get you good results. Just Jumari, Just Jump, Just Sprint is definitely one of those programs. I am going to review his Just Jump program very soon. We got the Mac McClung program coming out very soon, if it's not even out already. But anyways, let me stop yapping. Hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know down in the comments what you want me to react to next. And I will see you guys in the next video.